What's up everybody and welcome to a brand new mod for Fallout 4, and that's going to be Sim Settlements. This is a new mod that's going to really overhaul and transform the way you can interact and really just build your own settlements if you want to, and that's actually a really important part that I'll get into a little bit later. So as you can see, we have all these different houses and shops and all that around my settlement. More or less, the way this mod works on a pretty fundamental level is it's going to add in these special plots that you can place down. There are 4 different plots: an agricultural plot, a commercial plot, an industrial plot, and finally a residential plot. I'll walk through some of the different features that each of them do have. First and foremost, here is one of the residential plots. I have a ton of these scattered around, as you can see. And something you should probably notice is they look pretty different. They don't look all exactly the same. They're not all just little rag shag houses. And that's an important feature of this mod, and one of the coolest features of this mod, if you ask me. Basically, the way it works is there are 10 different kind of plot setups, like different structural setups that you can have, and there's actually a way to add in your own. That's something the mod author did make this mod to kind of have, is that I can go create a little settlement structure and import it into this mod. And he does say he's going to plan on incorporating a bunch of user content in the future, so his ultimate goal being that I could create up, let's say, 30 plots and none of them will look the same. But even beyond the structural differences, there's a little bit more of an intricacy on the inside. So a little bit cooler than the structures is actually what happens inside and around these different plots. So more or less, once you have these plots down, there are, again, 3 different areas for variation. The structures, as I did talk about, but even beyond that, there's a clutter kind of mechanic integrated into this mod. So if you look on this table, there's a ton of moonshine and a glass and, I don't know, a bunch of other stuff down there. So if I come back tomorrow, this might be totally different. More or less, there's predefined little regions, like let's say right there, a predefined region that something will be, whether it could be food, a book, etc., and it's going to change over time. So let's say there's a sandwich, I could see the guy going through the animation of eating the sandwich, come back tomorrow, and it'll be totally different. Then even a little bit more cool and a little bit more customizable is a VIP system in the mod. That's how the mod author does describe it. And the way that's going to work is there's going to be little things in each of these huts or houses, whatever you want to call them, and they're going to tie to that person. There's an upgrade system in this mod. Each building does have 3 different upgrade options. So this is like level 1 and you have level 2 and 3. I'll get into that towards the end of this video, but more or less, as you do upgrade, you're going to see a common thing about that, like a job they had in the past life, something that pertains to each citizen. So like right now we could see a baseball bat. So right now we just have a baseball bat, relatively simple, but maybe as we get to the level 2 of this house, you'll have a little section with a few signed baseballs and a baseball jersey somewhere in his home. And that's going to be another area where all of them are going to be different. So if we go to this other house that's right next to it, this guy has some tires. So maybe he was a mechanic in a past life. If we go to this house right here, this little trailer, he has a Nuka-Cola Quantum and some ramshack chair. I mean, I don't really know what this one is. Some of them are harder to tell. He has some, that's food. So I don't know. Regardless, you get the idea. But those are the 3 different variation types on each of these residences, and I think it's pretty freaking cool. So the next type of plot I do want to show you guys is going to be the commercial plot. So as you can see right here, we have a few commercial plots laid down. This one is a This one is a tailor, as well as this one is going to be a weapon vendor. And basically the way commercial plots work is they're not as crazy as the other plots, but when you place them down, they're going to run through each of the different options for kind of shops you do have in vanilla Fallout 4. So obviously you have like a medic shop, you have a weapons shop, you have a tailor, you have an armor shop. So I'm not going to place down 4 and get 3 tailors in a row in one weapon shop. It'll do 1 of each and then start repeating, which I think is a really nice feature to have. In addition to that, each of these settlers are actually tied to a home, which again, this is going to tie into the upgrade cycle, which I'll explain a little bit more towards the end of this video. But this guy right here, he has a house somewhere over here, and then he does have his own little backstory as well as a job to go do every single day. And then beyond that, we also do have industrial shops. Right now, this is one of the smallest areas of the mod. As you can see, someone started constructing that one, but this is one of the smallest areas of the mod. All we do have for industrial right now is a scrap thing. So this guy will come here and start doing scraps, and it'll produce random scraps that will be deposited into your settlement. And the last plot that we do have is going to be the agricultural plots. These ones are also pretty simple, and more or less what they're going to be is just different types of crops. As you can see, we have mut fruit, we have razor grain, as well as I don't actually know what this is, like corn or something, whatever. But this is going to apply food to your settlement and actually satisfy some of the needs of your settlers. So speaking of needs for your settlers, that's actually one of the core principles of this mod, and one of the kind of fundamental things that you're going to have to pay attention to. If you are using HUD framework, you're going to get this little on-screen HUD thing that will only appear when you're in your settlement. So as you can see, if I just run out of my settlement right here, it will fade away and disappear. Again, you're going to have to require HUD framework to be installed to use that, and this actually gives you a lot of information. So the first three indicators there are food, water, and defense. That's exactly the same as the indicators in the kind of normal Fallout 4. As you can see, food, water, and defense, they correspond to the same thing. Nothing too crazy going on there. I'm actually going to place down some more food, another agricultural plot, because it doesn't seem like we have enough food in my settlement right now, as I just accidentally passed it. But yeah, so those ones are pretty simple, nothing too crazy. The second section is where things start getting a little bit more interesting and a little bit more custom. So as you can see on the second one here, we do have a power symbol, a house symbol, as well as like a worker dude. The power symbol is going to correspond to how many plots you have versus how many of them are going to be hooked up to power. So as you can see, as I highlight this plot, it is powered. If I go to some of these new plots I did build over here, some of these new commercial plots, you're going to find that they're not powered. And basically that's what that's going to indicate. You got to have all your plots powered if you want some of them to be upgraded. So like these ones aren't powered just yet. You can connect it to these telephone poles. You connect power the normal way by placing down a generator, then connecting them with different power pylons, not pythons, and all that. And as you can see right there, the power section actually went up a little bit. Then the third one is going to be the amount of settlers you do, or the second one is going to be the amount of settlers you do have to the amount of houses available. So as you can see right now, that one isn't doing too hot. That means I have some settlers. I have 12 people in this, but I don't have 12 houses. So that's going to be all I have to do here is just place down some more residential plots, and more or less people will build in them. Obviously, you can have empty residential plots if you don't have all of the, or if you don't have any more settlers and you just have plots. Then last but not least is probably one of the more interesting ones. That's going to be the amount of people with houses versus the amount of people with jobs. So as you can see, I have all these different commercial plots. This one is going to be a security shop. I'm not really sure what this guy sells. It looks like he sells armor. And more or less what that means is like this guy has a house, but maybe he doesn't have a job. So that's why that's not going to be filled just yet. There is a few people that have houses and don't have jobs, and that's obviously disproportionate, and you want to have that. So now let's get back into the upgrade cycle I did talk about a little bit earlier. Upgrading is probably going to be one of the things you strive to do when having this mod installed, and it's going to really just give you a lot of continuation, I guess, for some of these different things, if I could think of the right word. So the way upgrading is going to work is if you want just a simple method, what you're going to have to do is fill up those bars. You want the bars on the side of your screen to be filled up, and if those are filled up, people will start upgrading their houses naturally. If you want a little bit of a more intricate way of looking at it, you can actually go to each of these resident plots, or any plots really, whether it be a commercial or residential. Let's actually start with the commercial because that's the way it'll work naturally, and you can actually look at the plaque. So you could get a number of different things here. As you can see, not all the houses, or not everything is powered. So we're going to need more power, as well as some more defense, as well as some more water in order to get this guy happy enough to upgrade his things. And then you do have bonuses through scavenge and happiness, which the happiness is the last indicator there. And that's just, you know, the same as happiness of your settlement, which you definitely want your people to be happy. But more or less, so again, you're going to have these you want these to be maxed out, or just those bars on the side to be maxed out. And then people will be like, all right, cool. Now I'll go upgrade all the things. More or less the way it's going to work is for all the non-residential plots, they're just going to produce more, be more efficient, maybe look a little bit nicer. The aesthetically will change. Again, you're going to have that kind of thematic thing with the residential plots, and they won't look as dumpy. Maybe look at a little taller, be 2 stories, etc., etc. As you can see, this one is really high up there right now, which is pretty cool. And just finished building. This is just a normal house, but regardless, as you can see up here, it'll look more like this, a little bit cooler and fancier. That just happens to be a level 1 plot. So then, even beyond that, to upgrade your residential plots, that's when things get a little bit more interesting, if you do ask me. So I did talk about earlier how as they upgrade, you're going to see kind of similar or certain themes from the houses kind of stay with it. Well, the way you want to upgrade your different residential plots is more or less to upgrade all the other plots. So the idea behind this is they need better jobs before they can build better houses. So you're going to need a certain amount of level 2 commercial plots before you can start getting level 2 residential plots. Level 2 residential plots are going to look better. That's the main difference between the residential level 1 and level 2 and level 3. They're just going to be aesthetically more pleasing, maybe a little bit bigger, and all that. Obviously, the happiness will also go up because people have better lives, better jobs, and obviously more money. In addition, all of that is going to just require the same standard things. That's just one of the specific things to residential plots. You're also going to need power, food, water, defense, all those normal things. Upgrading all these different plots is definitely going to pay dividends. Obviously, you're going to have happiness. You're going to be able to tax your citizens more because there'll be more income from the different businesses. You're going to get more yields from some of these things. So this one producing scrap or this one producing food. So I can only have one agricultural plot that's going to produce, let's say, 10 food instead of right now producing 2 food. So I don't have to keep building more of these things. I could just have some high level ones. And all of that. That's the bulk of this mod. It's going to be basically kind of upgrading everything, placing everything down, but there's actually a little bit more, and that's going to be in the reward section of this. And more or less the way it's going to work is, as I did say, everything's going to give you rewards, but if you actually look at some of these different citizens, you can see they are going to be paying taxes. So this guy has 0 income and 0 tax rate, but regardless, they're going to pay taxes. You'll get income from building this up. This is one area that the mod author says he does want to expand in the future. This is actually the same mod author that created the Salvage Beacons mod. One thing he does say is he actually wants to make people make discoveries in the future. So more or less, they'll kind of discover something and it'll be unique. So Salvage Beacons is one of those things he does say he wants to add in the future. Salvage Beacons is basically a mod where if I'm out in the wild traveling, I can put all my resources in, let's say, this ice cooler, and then I could place the salvage beacon in here, and a settler will walk over to the ice cooler, take everything out, and walk back to the settlement, storing it in the workshop. So through this mod, Sims Settlements, you're going to be able to kind of unlock that naturally as you do have a more prosperous settlement and people do have, let's say, more free time, or they're just smarter, so they can discover more things. But that's largely all the features of this mod. I think this is a really cool mod. He does have a lot of plans to expand this in the future. Even some of the industrial plots. He does say, since that's kind of one of the smaller parts right now, that'll be one of the first parts to get more updates in the future. In addition, all the different kind of custom plots that you can build with this, I think just makes your settlement look so much cooler. Like, look at my settlement right here compared to a normal settlement in Fallout 4. I think this looks pretty badass, having all these little houses, and none of them are even upgraded. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. I know I'm kind of losing my voice. I'm getting a little bit sick. But regardless, again, I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.